Hey everybody, it's been a while here. This is Dan, the Vintage RV'er. Welcome back, another video. Doing some ship shape work here on the lower skirt, which, as you all know with the aluminum, eventually it bubbles up. You've got all these little funky little bubbles and everything else that goes on here. So what we've tried to do is mitigate that a little bit by sanding them down, grinding them down, putting filler putty in. It's kind of a fiberglass base type. They call it steel putty. It's kind of like JB Weld. I wanted something a little stronger, a little more resistant to moisture. So that's what I did here. You can see it's all masked off. We put some primer coats, rust preventative, corrosion resistant primer on first. And then we're starting with this chocolate brown, kind of leather brown, whatever you want to call it. Trying to get it cleaned up at least a little bit so it's not perfect. Not by any means. It's not too bad though, and we're actually going over some old patches from the previous owner as well, who did some work on it. So, got the bottom of the door painted. The basement looks pretty cool. That came out pretty nice. Here it's kind of all blending in. I've got some runs I've got to sand out a little bit. But again, it's not going to be perfect. Just need to get it decent. Masked it off with some like antique white, and that seems to match it pretty good. So what I'm doing now is I'm actually checking the marker lights. You see this how this one's on? This one I think is the signal light because it lines up with the one on the front, and that does not turn on because it is not wired. I don't know if you can see that. No, oh no you can't. But there's just a couple of wires dangling down there. And I've actually got to wire them into the signal lights because I'm sure it's not going to pass inspection like that, but it did before. Go figure. So what I've done here is so down here again you can see there's a marker light that's on. A lot of these I've replaced with LED bulbs, but now I'm just kind of going through, and on Amazon I picked up like an 8-pack of these guys. Pretty simple. Pretty straightforward. You know, they come just in the pack, ambers or reds. I bought a bunch of reds. I thought I bought ambers too, but I can't find them. So I'm swapping some stuff out to work. Now, this is one I just installed here, and I replaced it. The big thing you got to remember on a lot of these older, these newer ones, you notice they have 2 wires. They have the white wire, which for RVs, that's the positive. That's not the positive, that's the ground. See, I get those confused all the time. So the white's the ground, the black is the hot. Okay? That's your 12-volt supply, and this is your ground. So you got to ground it to something like the chassis. That's what these old ones did. Here, you can see I got a collection going together now. So this had the wire coming in to the bulb assembly. Then it was grounding out through a screw. Sorry for the jiggling around. Through a screw that just attached to the chassis like that. So I actually have to strip the white wire, the ground wire, longer, wrap it around a little bit loosely around one of the new screws that I'm using. And I'm using a little bit bigger gauge, like number 10 self-tappers with the washer head. And that way I can get them in there nice and tight. I'm reusing the die core, the sticky stuff, the Play-Doh stuff that's on the back, to remount them. So you can see old ones. That's an old one. That's a new one. There's an old one up there. I'm stripping this one down now. I already took that off. As you can see up here, it needs a little cleaning. And it only has the 1 wire. So that's why you got to connect black to black, and then the white you've got to lightly wrap around the screw as you put it back on. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show this because I'm going to be up on a ladder and I don't have like a tripod or anything to hold this thing in. But I'm going to try to get it rigged together, wired, ready to go, and then I'll just show you what you got to do to kind of just get the ground wire attached good enough so that way, you know, it'll work just fine. So probably going to replace this one here and then the far one. The 3 middle ones are working. Depends how far I want to go with it. I mean, I've got 1 more marker light, so I might as well just do the one over there and get it set. So there's a little bit of symmetry there. I don't have like a new LED one, and then this one over here is kind of just a single bulb. and we'll go from there. I've actually done the other side, signal light. That one, believe it or not, is actually on. There you go, in the bright sun. So I've got some ones up front too that I'm going to have to work on. I bought some amber ones from the store for like double. So I'm going to do those off the front as well, get those front amber ones. Because I'm losing the lenses like crazy. Every time the wind blows with these old ones, I lose like 2 or 3 every trip. And I'm getting a little tired of having to have a box of these things every time I go around. So, okay, I'm going to take a pause for a second and get that light up there rigged up, and I'll show you how to get that wired and get it in. Alright? Okay, so up on the ladder, I have prepped my fixture here. What I've done is, as you can see, I've really stripped the lead out like 1.5 inches. Left it bare so I can wrap it around the screw. This one I've stripped off so I can get it up here on this lead, which I've just stripped and cut. This had a lot of water issues here. You can see there's right where there's a divot in the panel. There must not have been enough die-core here. I mean, literally, this fixture was full of water, rusty, nasty water, and I'm sure some of this was actually getting into the hole here that's been cut to actually, you know, access the wiring. So I'm going to fill that in, get that nice and sealed up, and fix that. Somebody did put a little die-core on this back in the day, but I'm going to go back through. I'm going to clean this all up before I put the fixture back on and get some Lysol and paper towels and get this cleaned up and ready to go. And like I said, I'll get that done. I'm using, ooh, there's die-core all over it. So there you go. Nice gooey die-core in the sun. So I'm using size 10, 16 by 1 self-tappers for the hex washer head. You know, just your generic. They work great in the driver, which I got here. So that's what I'm using, is these guys. So I gotta wrap this around the longer ground piece here. So I'm gonna leave a couple of them there. Right there. So I'm gonna be back in a second. I'm gonna show this cleaned up, and I'm gonna show you how I put the kind of the Play-Doh string, snake string around here. Probably a little bit more up here than down here, but definitely filling in around these gaps here, and get that cleaned up, ready to go. All right. You can see here I've got this rigged up now. So this coincides with the signal, obviously. So people can see it at the side and the rear, and that's what I got to do in the front with the ones down low where the signals are low. Markers up top are working. I got that new one up there situated and die-cored all in, which is really cool. I'm going to do that one over there just for symmetry's sake. So I have fairly bright corners, and then I'll work on the actual signal lights up front, which are going to be fun. I think this one reason why these are blinking a little fast. But in any case, at least it works. That's super bright, like twice as bright of the rear one, so that's cool. I'm glad that's working like that. So I wanted to show you here some of these fixtures. So you can see here there's some corrosion leaking through. They're pretty solid, pretty simple fixtures. I mean, usually what happens is one of these little tabs, these plastic tabs which hold the socket, break off, and pretty much you can't make a connection no matter what you do. This probably out of the 3 of them is in the best shape. There's very little corrosion. The tab itself is in pretty good shape. There's a little distortion where the bulb goes in, but other than that, it's all right. This is the one that completely crapped out on top of the RV, and you can see water seeped into this fixture and just, I mean, literally sat there. Here's the lens for it. Look at that. It just like halfway up the lens just filled it full of water and just shorted out, and then this is the resultant LED, what's left of the LED bulb. This is completely shot. But I found that these, I use these as a quick retrofit because I didn't want to have to replace the fixtures. But I'll be honest with you, if you're going to keep a rig for any amount of time, and you're just, these never really fit in the sockets that great. Here's some other ones I've got. These have already burned out. These aren't even a year, and these are shot. And I tested them and they don't work. and they look okay, but they just don't function. So I'm like, at some point I'm like, so I just spent a bunch of money on these little suckers, and which is about as much when you get like a 2-pack or something as one of these fixtures are that has the 6 LED light bar in it. So I'm kind of looking at, you know, why would you bother sticking with these condensate retrofits if you can get away with putting in these new LED fixtures with the 2-wire, knowing that you just have to ground it around the screw. And I got to remind you, don't screw it around too tight, because that one I put up top, the first time I put it in, it worked, then it stopped working. And why? Because the screw literally stripped the wire right out of the cable and snapped it. And so I had to back it out, pull the fixture off, loosely string it together, and then let the screw draw it in without snapping it with too much tension. And now it works fine. So lesson learned there. Got to be a little careful when you. Most people know if you put wire around a screw and you tighten it up, it just torques it. I mean, it's just like a winch, and so it just wound up snapping it off. So I don't know if I've got the. I'm going to look real quick here to see if I can find the Amazon, the one where I bought it, where I actually bought these replacement fixtures, just to give you guys an idea of. I can actually get the interwebs to come up. That'd be awesome. It's taking a little time because I do have that giant Faraday cage of a vehicle outside my office, blocking most of the Wi-Fi signal. We'll see if we get this going here. Alright, let's see here. Orders. Boy, I ordered that stuff a long time ago, so I have no idea. Well, this thing's taking a long time. I can't believe it. I'm going to do this. Oh, that's great. That's incorrect. So, well, I'm going to try that later. I'm going to put a link up on the posting, the video. I'm going to put a link underneath the description, show where I bought this cluster of LED lights. There's a bunch of them, but these I liked because they had 6 LEDs in them, which I thought was really nice. Gave uniform coverage across the lens, and it actually is in like this rectangular spot here. That's where all the bulbs are, so it's kind of cool to see that. But anyway, so that's what I got going on right now. Now, as you can see, I have started working on the front. I'm going to try to get these signal side markers working so they coincide with the front signal lights. The other uppers here, I've started pulling those off. I'm going to show you here real quick. You can get this. I'm going to come up here. Hello. So, we've gotten the 3 center marker lights, which I'm going to replace definitely. That I'm going to swap out probably for a new lens and clean it up. If not, put a whole new fixture in because it's looking pretty ratty. But what I've noticed here is that the die core, if you notice, there's major gaps in the die core and they're full of dirt. This one doesn't even have any sealer at all. Gee, wonder why I was getting a leak down into my RV from inside. Probably from there. Water is literally getting in there and running down inside my RV and right in the spot on the dashboard. And over here too, there's a huge gap in the die core. As you can see here, it's almost all gone. So I've got new die core, 2 strips of it. I'm going to take all these out, clean all this up with a brush, repaint it because it's all faded, as you can see. So I'm going to just touch it up a little bit more. And yeah, roof seal's the next one. There's definitely some stuff here that could get redone, and my roof is all cruddy again. So I'm going to go up top probably and check out, see if my seals are all okay on the roof as well. But in the meantime, I'm going to get this cleaned up. Stay tuned. Okay, I've decided to just take all the front markers out, go back to the auto store, buy a couple more spare amber fronts, just so I've got them. I had 2 extras somewhere. I can't find them. I counted 3 new ones on my rig out of the set of 5 and 5 red, 5 ambers, but I have no idea where these are at. So, in a nice hot August day, gorgeous weather, you can see I've masked it off so that I can get kind of the paint renewed here on this. And in the meantime, all the connections were just done with electrical tape wrap, which I'm not a big fan of. So I'm going to put wire nuts on these. And yeah, so I've got the whole top portion, a couple coats of this one's an espresso or whatever it is. I don't know, like this, whatever the can color is. It's one of these fusion jobs. Gloss espresso. So there you go. It's a chocolate brownie kind of thing. So I got that up there. It's real close. So close it's not even funny. So I'm not even going to bother trying to waste my time. I'm probably going to mask off up here where I didn't get to last year, and a couple other spots just to make sure it's totally done and taken care of. No, what was that? Boy, squirrels get around. Anyway, so got that painted off, ready to go. But I did want to show you this, because remember I mentioned to you one of the failures of these guys is that the post breaks. Well, if you notice here, this bulb will not set in the fixture. There's a reason for that. Because you can see here, look at it. This whole thing wobbles around. Why? Because this one plastic, oh, the whole thing just broke off at this point. The whole thing just, these little 2 plastic tabs just went bad and broke off. So that's another junk fixture. We'll put that in the garbage. But yeah, so good thing I'm doing these checks here on this stuff, because after a while these things do wear out. And like I said, I do think I found at least one of the locations of a roof leak, which were these lights leaking into my upper panel, which has definitely shown evidence of some water getting in there and dripping out of the dashboard. So I'm glad to at least find it and resolve that and get a little more weather tight. It's late. It's about 8:30 at night, and I am just getting to test the turn signals. You can see here the LED ones, pretty bright. You can see the one that's flashing here. You can see the one that's flashing up front. That's my turn signal for the front, obviously. Had to wire those up to the turn signal in the ground independently, but I got them going. They don't flash quite in sync though, which is kind of weird. You'd think they'd flash in sync, but I don't know. At least they're working. You can see how much light it throws against the fence. At least I know they're working. Up top, got sort of the red light of doom in the middle, but otherwise the rest are amber. That one's like a red LED core with an amber cover. I'm just gonna let that one go for now. Headlight's working. I've painted the door a little bit so it blends in with the cream color there. Haven't done over here yet. Getting dark. Gonna flip to the other side. I've done this side, which is working. Now I'm gonna do this side. Vacuum is pretty good considering. It's about 2021, which is awesome right now for idle. Hopefully it'll perform that well when we're on the road, or you know, they're within a reasonable amount, but right now it's timing still not perfect. Oh, look at that. That's blinking like crazy. Still no synchronization between the lights, even though they're wired together. It's fine as long as it does what it needs to do. We've got the rear light blinking like crazy. Nice and bright. Same thing with this. Gonna try the brake lights soon, but it looks like everything's working pretty well. I decided not to do the upper one for now. That side, I did this one. Definitely you see the difference. Just ran out of time. You can see it's getting dark out. So just doing what I need to do to keep the rig in good shape. And you know, honestly, I got to get back here. It's late. I might throw some lights on so I can finish up this stuff. The lower skirt on this side. Get her done. And if I got any work lights, that's going to be the big problem. I don't know if I've got any work lights. So, but for the most part, I got it put together pretty well. So that's the video with the marker lights. You can still hear the belt squealing a little bit. But I did get a lot of lights on this rig. I didn't even throw on the parking lights, the fog lights, parking lights. This thing's going to squeal like a mother when I put it on, I bet. Well, not too much more. Surprised it did that. But this is my, to help light up. Too bad I have these work lights, you know, that I could run around, because this is like completely brightened up the whole thing there. There you go. That's the front of my rig with both sets of lights on. That's without the high beams. So if you see me coming down the road, I think you might see me. I'm just saying. You just might see me coming down the road. Have a good night, all. Take care. Happy RVing and safe RVing.